Let me ask you something. Have you ever found yourself lying awake at night wondering, am I the only one showing up in this relationship? Like you're pouring your heart out, showing your love in every possible way, through your time, your patience, your support, your effort. But the energy just doesn't seem to come back the same way. You're not crazy for noticing. You're not needy for wanting balance. You're human. Here's the truth we don't talk about enough. Relationships are not about two people giving 5 or 50. That's not partnership. That's negotiation. That's survival mode. A great relationship is when two people give 1,100. You give your all and the other person does too. Not perfectly, not every second, but consistently and with intention. But here's the part that stings. Most of us stay way too long in situations where we're the only ones showing up at 100, and we convince ourselves that maybe, just maybe, if we try harder, they'll meet us halfway. So we overextend, we tolerate, we shrink, we hope. But you weren't born to beg for love. You weren't built to chase what should be walking beside you. The right relationship doesn't drain you. It refuels you. It doesn't confuse you. It grounds you. It's not about proving your worth. It's about sharing your life with someone who sees your value without needing reminders. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable, asking yourself honestly, am I giving my 100%? Because sometimes we think we are, but we're giving from fear, not from fullness. We give because we're scared to lose someone, not because we truly want to share ourselves. That's not love. That's self-protection disguised as affection. A real 100% relationship means showing up even when it's uncomfortable. It means communication even when silence would be easier. It means choosing your partner again, not out of obligation, but from a place of respect and desire. And if you're living that, and the person next to you is coasting, pulling back, giving excuses, giving crumbs, then I need you to hear this loud and clear. You don't need to shrink to be loved. You don't need to earn what should be offered freely. If they're not giving their 100%, it's not your job to carry both halves. It's your job to decide how long you're willing to live with a love that costs you more than it gives. You deserve someone who meets you where you are. Not just when it's easy, not just when they're in the mood, but consistently. So the question isn't, are you giving it all? You already know that answer. The real question is, are they? And if not, what are you really fighting to hold on to? Because sometimes letting go isn't giving up. It's giving yourself a chance to find someone who shows up with the same heart, same fire, same level of I'm in this. That is the 100% relationship. A true relationship is 1,100, not 50 or 50. This concept flips everything most people are taught about love. We grow up hearing that relationships are about compromise, about each person giving half so that together you make a whole. But what if that thinking is flawed? What if aiming for 50% effort from each person lowers the standard for what a healthy, fulfilling relationship can be? The idea of 1,100 means both people bring their full selves into the partnership, not a diluted version, not the pieces left over after work, stress, or distraction, but their presence, their commitment, their emotional availability, and their willingness to grow together. When someone is only giving 50%, they're reserving half of themselves for something else. Maybe they're unsure. Maybe they're afraid of vulnerability. Maybe they're used to being pursued instead of pursuing. But no matter the reason, 50% will never feel like enough when you're giving your all. Because love doesn't thrive on averages. It thrives on mutual energy, on a shared desire to create something extraordinary. If you're only giving 50%, you're holding back, and that holding back creates imbalance. It creates doubt, it creates insecurity, it creates distance. But when both people give 100%, something powerful happens. There's no guessing where you stand. There's no chasing. There's a rhythm, a flow. You show up for each other not because you have to, but because it's who you are. You care deeply, so you act accordingly. You communicate, not when things break down, but before they do. You plan, you listen, you adapt. You do what it takes to stay connected. That's 100%. That's presence. That's love in action. People think giving 100% means being perfect. But it doesn't. It means giving your best from wherever you are. It means being honest when you're struggling, not disappearing. It means still showing up with love when you're tired, not withdrawing. And it means respecting that your partner is also doing the same, trusting that the commitment goes both ways. A 1,100 relationship isn't about being needy or demanding more than is fair. It's about setting a standard where people take full responsibility for the health of the connection. Not one person over-functioning while the other checks out. Not one person carrying all the emotional labor while the other stays distant, but both choosing to give their energy, time, care, and respect without needing to be reminded, without using past wounds as an excuse to stay emotionally unavailable. Giving more won't fix a one-sided relationship. It's a trap so many people fall into. The belief that if they just love harder, if they just try more, if they just become more understanding, more patient, more available, they can somehow inspire the other person to finally show up. It starts small. You forgive the ignored texts. You excuse the cancelled plans. You rationalize the lack of emotional effort. You tell yourself they're just busy, tired, or going through something. So you adjust, you compensate, you fill the space they leave empty. But over time, that effort turns into exhaustion, because love shouldn't feel like a solo mission. It shouldn't feel like you're constantly reaching, pulling, hoping that they'll one day meet you halfway. Real connection is built on mutual desire, mutual respect, mutual effort. If you find yourself constantly overextending, constantly bending, constantly proving similar love, it's imbalance. And the truth is, no matter how much more you give, it won't change someone who's not willing to meet you in that same place. You could be the most loving, loyal, patient person on earth, and it still won't be enough for someone who isn't emotionally ready or willing to give in return. The problem is, when you give more than what's healthy, you end up training someone to give less. You create a pattern where they expect that you'll always be the one to make things work, so they don't have to try. They stop investing, they stop showing up, and they start taking your effort for granted. And you keep giving, hoping one day they'll realize your worth, but your worth doesn't need to be proven through sacrifice. Your value isn't in how much you can endure. A one-sided relationship will drain your spirit, wear down your confidence, and leave you wondering what else you can possibly do. But love isn't about doing more to earn it. Love is about showing up and being met with equal energy. Love is about two people who choose each other daily, not out of guilt or fear of losing the other, but because they genuinely want to grow and thrive together. Giving more doesn't create emotional maturity. It doesn't teach accountability. It doesn't build reciprocity. That only happens when both people want the same depth, the same consistency. The same kind of love doesn't need convincing or pushing or rescuing. Real love doesn't require constant proving. If you feel like you're always having to convince someone of your worth, your value, your place in their life, that's not love. That's insecurity disguised as connection. True love doesn't keep you in a state of doubt. It doesn't have you walking on eggshells, worried about saying the wrong thing, doing too much or not doing enough. When love is real, it's steady, it's calm. It's not about grand gestures to earn attention or affection. It's about being seen, heard, and accepted without having to fight for basic emotional needs. In a healthy relationship, you don't have to perform to be loved. You don't have to constantly give to feel safe. You don't have to become smaller, quieter, or more agreeable just to be tolerated. Real love sees your flaws and still stays. It doesn't make you feel like you have to keep proving why you're good enough to be chosen. The moment you feel like you have to fight for your position in someone's life, you've already been pushed into a dynamic where love is no longer mutual. It becomes a transaction, a negotiation, a performance. And love that becomes a performance is never sustainable. You end up burned out, emotionally exhausted, always on edge, waiting for reassurance, waiting for signs that your effort is being noticed. But real connection doesn't make you chase clarity. It brings it. You don't have to ask someone to care. You don't have to beg for their time. You don't need to initiate every conversation, plan every meeting, or fix every miscommunication. Because real love is shared effort. It's mutual reassurance. It's two people reminding each other through actions and presence that they're in it together. And when someone really loves you, they'll make it known without you needing to ask. They'll express it through consistency, through respect, through emotional presence, not just words. Love that's built on constant proving is often rooted in fear. Fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, fear of not being enough. But you are enough exactly as you are, and the right relationship will never make you question that. You won't have to keep showing up with proof of your loyalty or evidence of your devotion just to be treated with basic care. You'll just be able to be yourself freely without second-guessing your every move or holding your breath. Waiting for someone to finally see you the way you deserve to be seen. Fear-based giving isn't genuine intimacy. When we give out of fear of being left, fear of not being good enough, fear that if we stop trying, the whole thing will fall apart, we're not really giving from love, we're giving from anxiety. That kind of giving doesn't come from a place of freedom. It comes from a place of survival. It becomes a pattern where you're constantly overcompensating, trying to stay valuable in someone's life by always doing more, always fixing, always being available, always saying yes. But when your effort is rooted in fear, it doesn't build closeness, it builds imbalance. It creates a dynamic where your worth is tied to your performance, and the moment you pause to breathe, you worry everything will collapse. That's not emotional safety. That's emotional dependency. True intimacy can't exist in a space where one person is giving out of desperation. Because the energy behind your actions matters. Giving out of guilt or pressure might look loving on the surface, but it lacks the emotional depth and clarity that real connection requires. Fear-based giving often leads to resentment. Even when you don't notice it right away, you start feeling underappreciated, exhausted, like you're pouring into something that's never pouring back. You hope that if you keep being enough, they'll change, they'll stay, they'll see you the way you want to be seen. But love built on fear is always fragile. It doesn't grow stronger with time. It becomes more anxious, more uncertain. You begin to believe that if you stop being everything for them, they'll stop choosing you. That belief makes you chase. It makes you ignore red flags. It makes you accept less than you deserve. And eventually, you don't even recognize your own needs anymore because all your focus is on keeping someone else comfortable. But real love doesn't ask you to disappear. It doesn't require you to become someone else just to be accepted. Giving in a healthy relationship is voluntary, joyful, mutual. It's not about proving your place. It's about sharing your life in a way that feels balanced and natural. Intimacy comes from vulnerability, not from overextending. It comes from truth, not performance. You deserve to give and receive love from a space of calm, not chaos, from a place of choice, not fear. Anything less might look like connection in the moment, but it's not the kind of connection that sustains you long-term or honors your emotional well-being at its core. Consistency matters more than occasional effort. Anyone can show up once in a while with a kind word, a romantic gesture, or a sweet message, but those isolated moments build a strong foundation. What builds trust, what creates emotional safety is the pattern, the day-to-day actions that show reliability, presence, and emotional investment. Love isn't proven in a single grand gesture. It's shown in how someone speaks to you when they're upset, how they prioritize you in their daily life, how they show up not just when it's convenient, but especially when it's not. When someone is consistent, you don't have to constantly ask where you stand. You don't have to chase them for reassurance or attention. You feel grounded, supported, and emotionally at ease. But when someone is inconsistent, you're always left guessing. You're caught in a cycle of highs and lows where the good moments are amazing, but the bad ones leave you anxious and confused. You start to cling to the highs, hoping they'll return, ignoring the fact that they never last. Inconsistency sends mixed signals, and mixed signals create emotional chaos. It forces you to interpret silence, justify neglect, and romanticize the rare moments they actually show care. But consistency isn't just about being physically present. It's about being emotionally available, communicative, and involved. It's about someone making you feel like a priority, not a backup option. It's about someone showing up with the same energy they had when they first wanted to win you over. Real consistency is a form of emotional leadership. It says, I value this, and I'm going to take care of it. It's not about perfection. It's about being real, being dependable, and being willing to do the work even when it's uncomfortable. Some people are amazing in short bursts, but they disappear when things require real effort. Others may not be flashy or dramatic, but they're solid, they show up, they communicate, they follow through. And that's what creates the emotional stability needed for a relationship to thrive. Without consistency, there's no room for deep trust to grow. Without consistency, apologies lose meaning, promises feel empty, and you're always stuck in a space of emotional uncertainty. Anyone can love you in moments, but the person who truly values you is the one who shows love through consistent effort, even when life gets messy, even when it's inconvenient, even when there's no audience to applaud their actions or validate their care. Letting go can be the path to real partnership. Holding on to someone who isn't showing up for you the way you show up for them can feel like strength, like dedication, like loyalty, but sometimes what we call loyalty is really fear in disguise. Fear of being alone, fear of starting over, fear that maybe this is as good as it gets. But when you stay in something that keeps hurting you, you're not saving the relationship. You're slowly losing yourself. We convince ourselves that if we just wait a little longer, if we're a little more patient, if we prove ourselves just a little more, the person will finally change, finally see us, finally love us the way we deserve to be loved. But people don't change because you wait for them. People change when they want to. And in the meantime, while you're waiting, you're putting your life, your peace, and your self-worth on hold. Letting go isn't about giving up hope. It's about choosing reality over illusion. It's about accepting that no matter how much potential you see in someone, love is measured by action, not fantasy. The hardest part about walking away is the silence that comes after, the space where hope used to live. But in that space, something powerful happens. You begin to hear your own voice again. You begin to feel your own energy return. You realize how much of yourself you were pouring into someone who wasn't pouring back. And in that clarity, you remember that love isn't meant to feel like work every single day. It's not meant to feel like convincing or negotiating or over-explaining. Real partnership begins when you stop chasing the wrong one. It begins when you create space for someone who doesn't make you question your worth, someone who's emotionally available, who chooses you fully and consistently. But you can't find that kind of partnership while clinging to what's comfortable but unfulfilling. Sometimes you have to release what's familiar to make room for what's healthy. It's not easy, but it's necessary. Because holding on to the wrong person keeps you from being available to the right one. The right person won't need to be chased. They won't need to be reminded how to treat you. They'll show up because they want to, not because you begged. And the peace that comes from being with someone who matches your energy, your values, and your effort is worth so much more than the pain of holding on to something that never truly felt secure,